stay down here by these guys, and you go stand down there. And we'll bid against each other. That'll throw them off. They won't know what's going on.
Brandi Passante's true story is so tragic that cameras have chosen not to show what is really happening. And sadly, it only gets worse. An assault involving intimate content nearly broke her. Her relationship turned physically violent in front of witnesses at a bar, and a daughter born completely deaf who required 16 hours of surgery, all while Brandi waited alone in a hospital hallway. But it doesn't stop there. What is really going on with Brandi Passante? Did she overcome her challenges or give in to her enemies? Join us as we explore what the auction queen experienced once the cameras were turned off.
What is that?
I hope he's not staying.
Yeah. I just got like throw up in my mouth.
It's a boy named Soup.
How do you do?
That unfortunate night in a bar. For years, many of Brandi Passante's struggles stayed private. Some were intentionally hidden, and others never appeared on the show. But eventually, one night in 2021, everything came to light, revealing problems that had been building behind the scenes for much longer than anyone understood. It happened on April 30th, 2021. During this time, Brandi was out with friends at a bar in Orange County when Jared Schultz showed up uninvited. Witnesses say she asked him to leave, but he did not, and the situation escalated fast. And according to multiple accounts, Jared became loud and confrontational before allegedly shoving Brandi, not once, but twice. Amidst the ruckus, other people present in the bar called police, but by the time the officers arrived, Jared had already left the scene. Brandi stayed behind to give her account of what happened, her hands shaking as she tried to simultaneously understand what had just happened to her and explain the fear she had been carrying, hidden for so long. This bar moment marked the first time their hidden breakup came to light. A few days later, law enforcement tracked Jared down, and although he denied touching her, a lot of witnesses said otherwise. After all the pieces were gathered, the Orange County District Attorney filed one count of misdemeanor domestic violence battery against him. They were celebrities, and of course, plenty words, both true and untrue, spread about the incident. Not long after, Brandi posted something on Instagram to soothe the noise. She wrote that she had managed to escape a very difficult situation that so many people fall victim to, and that she would be eternally grateful for the life and freedom from fear that she now got to live. For the first time in years, she felt like she could breathe again, like the constant weight on her chest was finally starting to lift. What fans had spent over a decade seeing as a quirky, bickering TV couple was, in fact, behind the scenes, something very toxic and dark. In silence, she led a story where she was controlled, in fear, and always walking on eggshells. And she had suffered this terrible fate for so long. But the bar incident in 2021 was not the beginning of Brandi's hardest chapter. In fact, almost 10 years ago, she was involved in an incident with a man who tried to destroy her using a fake explicit video.
Come on, wait, up. Go a little forward, now go back.
What?
Back.
Aw, you broke the radio. Seriously?
The dark side of fame. Brandi was never someone who enjoyed the spotlight. She has described herself as shy, admitting that something as simple as a trip to the gas station or the grocery store could trigger real anxiety. The idea of being recognized in public made her nervous, and things escalated quickly once storage wars took off. Strangers were not just asking for autographs anymore. Some were even sending threats. It got so bad that Brandi eventually had to move into a guard-gated community purely for her own safety. She later said she received frightening letters early in her fame and eventually developed agoraphobia, becoming genuinely afraid to leave her own house. Therapy became a necessary part of her life as she tried to cope with the fear that came from being so publicly exposed, a fear that followed her everywhere she went. Then, in 2012, things took a much darker turn. Brandi became one of many targets of Hunter Moore, a man who ran a site filled with non-consensually intimate images and explicit content published alongside people's personal information. He did this purely for financial profit, internet clout, and whatever personal vendetta that he has chosen to keep hidden to date. But what greater clout-chasing opportunity is there than the explicit videos of a celebrity? One day, Brandi discovered that a fake pornographic video had been posted claiming to feature her, learning about it only when disturbing messages started flooding her Twitter account. Hunter Moore did not stop at simply posting the video. He told his entire audience that Brandi had personally made it for him, a complete lie from start to finish. The file itself was secretly loaded with malicious code that infected the devices of anyone who downloaded it. Although it brought unimaginable amounts of embarrassment and gossip to her table, most of the pain she got was from another area. Brandi was a mother, and her reputation was now under direct attack from someone who wanted to ruin her. The fear of her children one day seeing it haunted her every single day. On October 29, 2012, Brandi fought back against this fear and attack, filing a lawsuit against Hunter Moore in federal court covering defamation, invasion of privacy, and consumer fraud. The court moved fast, issuing a temporary restraining order that forced Hunter Moore to take the video down. Brandi asked for $2.5 million in damages. But when the court finally reached its decision in June 2013, the outcome was a genuine shock. She was awarded just $750, a fraction of 1% of what she had asked for. The legal system had, in nearly every meaningful sense, failed her. Even after the lawsuit closed, the fear did not. Brandi was haunted by one thought above all others: that the fake video might one day reach her own children, or that some sort of similar scandal might somehow reach them. To avoid this, by 2020, she quietly removed every photo of her kids, Peyton and Cameron, from social media, explaining bluntly that some creepy people had been harassing them and that it needed to stop. That decision broke her heart, but it was the only way she knew to protect them from the same cruelty she had endured. Perhaps her undying love for them also came from all the adversaries they had faced together. Because while they were receiving hate comments on social media, and while Brandi was fighting Hunter Moore in court, she was also raising a daughter struggling with a severe health battle.
A lot of furniture. Yeah, I like it.
I don't see too much that I don't like.
This locker has everything we need to fill the store. I'm going all in on this one.
Her battles as a mother and daughter. Brandi's daughter, Peyton, was born with serious health complications. At just 6 weeks old, she underwent surgery to address complete deafness. She also had an internal cleft palate, soft tissue damage at the back of her mouth that made both feeding and speech extremely difficult from the very beginning. And as Peyton grew older, another major surgery followed, this one lasting 16 whole hours. Through this, Brandi waited alone in a hospital hallway, feeling the isolation and fear that no parent should ever have to face by themselves. She later said that being alone in a moment like that was something she was used to anyway. But the memory of those long hours still brings tears to her eyes when she talks about it. Recovery was not easy for Peyton. She was withdrawn for years and barely spoke, requiring extensive therapy just to learn how to communicate with the people around her. It was not until she discovered cheerleading that her confidence finally began to grow. something Brandi has called genuinely life-changing for her daughter. Watching her daughter find her voice through movement gave Brandi a strength she didn't know she still had. Then, 2020 arrived, and the hardships kept stacking on top of each other. While still adjusting to parenting largely on her own, Brandi contracted COVID-19 in late June of that year, suffering severe headaches and losing her sense of smell for weeks. And just as she started recovering physically, another blow landed. In October 2020, her father died unexpectedly. She posted an unfiltered message on Instagram, writing that she would miss him terribly, and closing the post with 2 words summarizing everything about how that year had gone for her. The grief was overwhelming, but it also reminded her of how much she had already survived. What most people did not realize at the time was that, through all this, Brandi and Jared had already been secretly separated for 2 full years. They split quietly in 2018, but kept it hidden from fans entirely, continuing to film together as though nothing had changed. For many viewers, the separation seemed to come out of nowhere. But in reality, it was only the latest chapter in a story that had been unfolding for years.
Whoa.
What is it?
Teacup. These are pretty unique. I've never seen cups like this.
You think this matches this?
Maybe. It might be worth something. See if I can find somebody to tell us about them.
The girl who learned to stand her ground. Nothing about Brandi Passante's early life suggested the path she would eventually take. She grew up surrounded by brothers who did not go easy on her, joking more than once that they basically used to beat the crap out of her, also stating that this exact upbringing was what built her toughness. Through her unique family dynamic, she was taught early how to stand her ground, especially around men who assumed they could push her around. As a kid, she described herself as shy, someone who gave people dirty looks rather than starting conversations. But underneath that shyness, she was silently learning how to be strong in a world that did not always make space for quiet girls. Those early experiences taught her the resilience that would serve her well later in life, even when the spotlight made everything feel 10 times harder. Money was never easy growing up. Real financial struggle shaped how she came to see the world, sharpening an eye for spotting value where other people saw nothing. In one interview, she put it simply, saying she was happy to find any kind of money at all. That mindset stuck with her till adulthood, making her develop a habit, wanting to flip things quickly and keep moving forward, also making her careful with every dollar and helping her build the determination to create stability for her own children. But her story with extremely toxic or masculine men wasn't over because after she moved to California in her late teens. In 1999, she applied for a job at a carpet cleaning company in Tustin, and that is where she met Jared Schultz, working there as a sales manager. The company had a strict rule against supervisors dating staff, but did not stop Jared. According to Brandi, he was relentless, following her around and asking her out again and again until he wore her down completely. It was never a storybook romance. Jared himself admitted in later interviews that he was not the easiest person to get along with, calling himself abrasive. And Brandi also later admitted that working alongside him every single day was genuinely difficult. The tension between them eventually became must-watch television, but it took one unplanned discovery to put them in front of the cameras.
You want a bullet?
Oh my God. Are you gonna bowl right now?
Yeah, right towards you, so watch your feet.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, are you okay?
The couple nobody planned to cast. Jared had tried the mortgage business first, but it never worked out. His aunt, who ran a storage facility, mentioned storage auctions to him, and he decided to give it a try. At one auction in Harbor City, California, he caught the attention of producers developing a brand new reality show. But everything changed the moment those producers visited the couple's thrift store in Orange County, a shop called Now and Then. That is where they met Brandi. She was never part of the original plan. But the second producers saw her on camera, they knew the show needed her. What started as a deal to cast, Jared quickly turned into a package deal that included Brandi too. And that last-minute decision gave the show its most relatable duo while completely shifting its tone. When Storage Wars premiered on December 1st, 2010, audiences connected with them almost instantly. Their first day filming was not easy, with cameras in their faces and veterans like Dave Hester and Barry Weiss standing right beside them. Production notes from that day mention that Brandi's hands were visibly shaking during her first on-camera interview. But it worked, and producers started calling them the Young Guns that very same day. But what viewers did not know was that behind the playful Young Guns nickname, the show's editing was hiding something else entirely. Financial pressure that was just as real as it looked, mixed with manufactured drama designed purely for ratings.
Brandi, come here. Come here, you. Hey.
What?
Say $5,000.
Why?
God, why not $1 million?
Well, you know what? Even if we cancel them right away, we can use them.
Brandi's and Jared's television woes. The idea that Brandi and Jared were underdogs was not just good television, it was mostly true. In 2010, their thrift store was barely staying afloat, with monthly profits hovering between $3,500 and $5,000. Production capped their auction budget at $2,500 per episode, forcing Brandi to become extremely careful with every bid. She explained in a 2012 interview that she had to turn her finds around quickly because that money paid for the next auction. The pressure was constant, and the fear of failing on national television made every decision feel heavier than it should have. Things got considerably worse in 2013 when the couple opened a second store location in Long Beach. The expansion turned into a genuine disaster, costing them more than $175,000 before they eventually shut it down just a year later in 2014. The financial loss hit hard, especially while they were still trying to navigate the demands of filming and raising a young family at the same time. Then, in December 2012, Dave Hester filed a lawsuit against A&E that exposed something most viewers never suspected. Despite being portrayed as cash-strapped, Brandi and Jared were actually earning around $800,000 per season, including a base salary, travel money, a dedicated purchasing account, and a signing bonus. The lawsuit also accused producers of staging parts of the show entirely, with valuable items reportedly planted inside units before filming. Even more controversial was Dave Hester's claim that producers had paid for Brandi to undergo breast enhancement surgery purely to boost male viewership, a claim that ended up sitting dormant in public court records. Even though Brandi has spoken against these claims as allegations which were wide off the mark, they still left her feeling objectified and exposed. But the channel producers didn't care. Despite the manufactured drama and the financial pressure colliding behind the scenes, A&E saw an opportunity in 2014 to capitalize on Brandi and Jared's popularity. In that year, A&E decided to capitalize on the couple's popularity with a spin-off called Brandi and Jared, Married to the Job. The title was a lie. The couple had never legally married, but network executives greenlit the project anyway, believing the fake marriage angle would boost curiosity and ratings. Even though Brandi wasn't entirely against this decision, as it gave her hope that showing their real life to the public might help them work through their problems, adding cameras only made everything worse. What happened on set was worse than anyone expected. Filming was chaotic. Brandi and Jared's fights often stopped production entirely. By March, crews had implemented a cooling-off protocol just to get through filming days, some of which stretched over 14 hours, while everyone waited for the couple to calm down. Brandi reportedly stormed off set at least 23 times over the course of the series. The show was canceled very early in November of the same year, after just 8 episodes, with ratings dropping 43% between the premiere and the finale. What had looked like entertainment on screen was, behind the camera, a relationship that was already failing in real time. The experience left Brandi exhausted, emotionally drained, and more determined than ever to find a way out of the cycle she had been trapped in for years. Eventually, Brandi found her way out of that relationship entirely, and into something that finally felt like the safety she had been missing for years.
I think they're for like beer fest.
Oktoberfest?
Yeah, that thing.
They're muttons and buttons.
Berlin.
Say it with the accent.
Coke and half.
Coke and half.
I like my Coke and whole.
The auction queen's life after the storm. Brandi's life changed completely after she went public with her relationship with Clifford Beaver in 2023. Sources close to her stated that after 2 decades inside a difficult relationship with Jared, she finally found peace with someone who genuinely valued her. A year later, in May 2024, on her birthday, Clifford posted a heartfelt message saying he was lucky to get another year around the sun with her. He has remained steady through her diagnosis with Hashimoto's disease and through the lingering grief of losing her father. For the first time in years, Brandi felt supported, seen, and truly safe in her own life. When Brandi returned to Storage Wars for season 15, as someone no longer part of the Young Guns duo, she became the only cast member to appear in every single season since the show began in 2010. At 44, she is stepping into an entirely new role as well, playing Wendy Turner in I Am Bone, a scripted crime drama which was released in February 2025, alongside cast members from Pawn Stars and Storage Wars, and hip-hop figures from Bone Thugs and Harmony. It is a clear pivot, proof that Brandi Passante is far more than the woman audiences first met, flipping storage units 14 years ago. She is someone who survived what happened behind the cameras and is still standing on the other side of it, stronger, wiser, and finally at peace with the life she has built for herself, her new partner, and her children. What do you think was Brandi Passante's driving force through all her battles? And what is your opinion on the way the court handled her case against Hunter Moore? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.